So Jayson Consalvo, did I say that right?
Yeah.
Uh, So you wrestle at Petrides. So talk about like the program at Petrides nowadays. How is it?
So so I come from a like kind of like a Petrides wrestling background with both my brothers wrestling. My oldest brother, he graduated in 2017, and then I'm the youngest, and then my brother above me, he graduated this year as we won the championship. So I mean, I've been around the program for like the past like 7 years. So I mean, I love the program. I love the culture that they bring. I love like the mentality that Coach Ola brings to us. And I just love it. I love it all. I couldn't see myself at any other high school.
Wow, it's cool. Who's your oldest brother?
My oldest brother's name's Joe Consalvo. He wrestled like 172.
Yeah, I don't know if I remember him or not, but we were in high school at the same time. Yeah, he's only a year older than me,
That's cool.
so I might have seen him. But yeah, I know a ton of guys from Petrides from the past and present and stuff, and you guys are looking good.
Thank you, thank you.
How'd the dual meet championships go for you?
Duvet championships. I feel like we were like our personally. I feel like I was ready for every single duvet. I was always there. I was always ready to wrestle. And but I feel like the team. I feel like we were more ready. Like I feel like everybody was always had that same mindset of get in, do what we got to do, and get our ring and get out. And I feel like that mentality in the wrestling room, like practices in the middle of playoffs, I feel like it really brought us together. Like the we had two practices in between our semifinals match and our finals match, and I don't think not one person messed around that whole practice. Like we were all just locked in and ready to go. And then in the championship, it showed beating Maspeth 64-9.
Now, how'd you feel about the pool you guys were in? Because I talked to a few people and they admitted that, you guys went
It's
against Eagle,
it
Tottenville,
was like
people
yeah, it was
Brooklyn
like
Tech.
I mean, it was like I'm not gonna say really easy because there were like one or two matches where our heads weren't in it and we started giving up like dual meet points. But I feel like if our team was always 100% up to par with everybody else, then we blew every team out. But also we showed that we could beat those teams. Like we could beat those top tier teams. Like we beat Tottenville by two or three matches at the Staten Island Duels tournament. We haven't versed Eagle as a duels team. We versed like every team on the island. We beat Tech by like 30, 40 points in an actual dual meet. We've beaten team like I said, we beat Tottenville before. We beat New York, like we beat all those island teams, and then we beat the Catholic school teams. The only team that we didn't beat was Farrell and Madison on that day. But we haven't wrestled like a dual meet with like teams from like the whole city, like just from the island.
Now, how do you feel about the schedule, the way it usually works out? Like Staten Island teams don't usually get to wrestle like a lot of the teams, the other four boroughs all the time, unless it's like a big tournament or something. Do you wish that you guys had more of a like versatile schedule?
Yeah, I kind of wish that we versed like teams from around the city because I want to like not only for like personal experience for like wrestling them in tournaments, but I want to wrestle them just to see how I pair up against them and just to see where my coach would move me around like the lineup.
Right, right, exactly. Because yeah, for those, yeah, it's important to win those dual meet matches and stuff. But as far
Yeah.
as like individually though, like how did things start out for you at Petrides and like how long have you even been wrestling for? And then like what's your goals like in the future?
So it's kind of like a roller coaster. So I started in sixth grade because my brothers were doing it. I started in sixth grade. I all I wanted to do was just wrestle. I wanted to just get on the mat. So I wrestled in sixth grade, and then seventh grade got shut down for COVID. So I didn't wrestle in seventh grade, didn't wrestle in eighth grade. I I came back. So the summer going into my freshman year, I did this summer program with Coach Mike Vaccaro from New York, and I got in there, and then I just like it was just learning the basics, like just like re regenerating like all the things I learned in middle school. Freshman year, it was a little shaky. Yeah, I mean I started, but it was just I just like I needed to get better, and I needed time for myself to develop, which I did. And then the summer going into my sophomore year, I really like developed. Like I worked my ass off over the summer with our assistant coach, and then now I'm here where I am, so like going to my junior year, coming off of a 30-win season.
Now, how do you feel about your record? Do you think like it matters in much in the grand scheme of things, or would you have rather done things like more individually, like cities and things like that?
So I feel like my overall record was 29-13. I was one shot at 30, and I feel like it could have been better because there were like a couple matches here and there where like my head wasn't fully in it, or like I could have done something to where I was like better in myself bef- before the match and during the match. But I mean, it's the way the cookie crumbles, and I feel that like individually during in tournaments, I would I would get into like I got second place a lot because I would win like the first round, then I'd win the semifinals and I'd get into the finals, and I'd be like on cloud nine before the finals match, and then it would just go down because I like my ego would be like too high. So I feel like in order for me to like take that extra step in winning a tournament, I need to stay humble through the whole tournament, and then that's what's gonna help me like actually win my junior year.
Yeah, you can't celebrate you early. So how did you do at
Mhm.
cities though?
At cities, so Petrides is D2. Remember that. So I only have four kids in my bracket. In my first round match, I versed this Mayor's Cup placer from RKA, and we were tied 6-6 in overtime because it was 6-5 me, and I did an illegal slam to tie it 6-6. I feel that it wasn't really illegal because I felt like I had him locked, but I get the ref wanted to call it. So it was 6-6 and it went into overtime, and he takes a single leg and then he lifts me like over his head and then slams me, and I thought the ref was gonna call something, but he didn't, and the kid got the win in the semifinals. And then I won my third place match against my teammate. So I got third at cities.
Yeah, the refs in NYC
Oh,
usually not good.
oh my, yeah,
It's always been like that.
yeah.
Some are good, but usually they're not
They're like I feel like they don't like get I just they just don't get the right calls.
good. They don't. They don't.
But you have to respect them because like there's some calls that they may miss, but it's because there's so much happening that like you can't really blame them.
Exactly, yeah. It's not like college tournaments or anything, or like the
Yeah,
NCAAs. We don't have like the video replay and things like that going on.
yeah,
That's why for the big tournaments, they'll have like multiple referees so everybody can see
hmm
something. And speaking of
yeah,
big tournaments, you were at Freestyle States. So talk
yeah.
about what made you even want to go in the first place.
So what made me want to go to freestyle states is just the urge to keep wrestling. Like I just wanted to keep wrestling over the spring because like last year I played baseball and I don't really like it. So like over the spring I told myself I'm gonna quit baseball and I'm just gonna keep wrestling. And also I play travel soccer. Like and so I was like, all right, over the spring I'm gonna keep wrestling, I'm gonna keep playing soccer, I'm gonna get better at these two sports, and I'm gonna hold on to it until like the end of time. So I told myself I was gonna keep wrestling, and then Coach Ola told me that there was freestyle states, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep practicing and just see how I do. Like I didn't even care about what weight class I went. I just wanted to get on the mat and compete. So I wrestled 138 during the folk style season, and I ended up like I gained like a lot. I gained like a pretty decent amount of muscle. So I ended up just going 152 because I didn't want to cut all the way down for freestyle stage. Like I just wanted to go out and wrestle. I went to freestyle stage. My first match, I lost 12-9 on some like mistakes that I made, and then I got sent to the consolation. My first round match in the consolation, I won. I pinned him. And then my second round, I versed a really good kid. The kid he wound up winning third in my bracket, and then he won Greco stage. So I mean, that kid was just really good. He caught a single, and I just couldn't defend it. And then he switched. He like went straight into a leg lace and just ended the match. Techfall me. Yeah, the kid was really good.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah, he was a New York State finalist a couple of times in folk style.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
he's really good. Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah,
But see, but that's good. That's something that a lot of kids in the city don't really. They don't look at it as. They don't look at it the way they should. You know, going against higher level guys, right? Like
yeah,
I just told you who that guy is. You know, going against those guys, that's how you get better. And a lot of the time, this teams in the city, I don't know how it is now, but when I was in high school, not a lot of teams would go out the city that often. Not a lot of kids got exposure outside the city. And even the ones that did, a lot of them wouldn't take it for what they needed to take it as. A lot of them felt like, oh, I got beat up, or what's the point of me going all the way to Long Island or something like that? I'm just going to get beat up and stuff. But no, that's what gets you better. A lot of teams in the city, they don't want to go outside of the city because they just want to get high records. They want to have their
yeah,
teams winning dual meets and things. And it's like, look, you need to go outside the city. Just because you're winning a bunch of matches in the city, okay, it might look good on paper, but that's not a representation of how good you actually are. And you mentioned the D2 thing. How do you feel about Petrides being in Division 2 versus like the Division 1 teams?
I mean, I'm never gonna take that for granted. Like, it's never something I'm gonna fall back on. Like, oh, I may lose, I may not have a good record in Mayor's Cup, but I'm always gonna look at. I'm never gonna look at it as, oh, if I lose in Mayor's Cup, I always have cities. Because I feel like being D2, it's like we do get to compete with Eagle, so I'm happy about that. I get to compete with them. So there's like some dogs there. Like, I know Eagle has some dogs, but like it's it's just Eagle there. And like, I mean, like RKA, RFK, they have decent kids here and there, but they're not stacked like Eagle is. So I mean, I like being D2 because it's a small tournament. I don't really like big tournaments because I don't like huge crowds. But I mean, if PSAL split it up in a way that there was two tournaments, like there was two like decent sized tournaments, I feel like that would be more beneficial because then more kids get to compete.
Yeah, but then they got the whole blended league thing going on. Like in high school, my team after I graduated, they decided to go into the blended league because they just wanted the banner, and they got it. They wound up getting it, but it's like I agree with you on that. I don't think there should be three PSAL divisions. I think there should be two: Division 1, Division 2.
Hmm. And I feel
I
like
know
more
why we
teams
can't
should
have.
be in Division Two.
Yeah, more teams. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because there could be some tough teams that if you put them in D2, yes, Eagles always going to be on top for they've been on top, and a lot of it has to do with their feeder system. That's why they've consistently been on top. But I think that D2 could, if they did something like that, I think D2 could do a better job at just being competitive in the city.
Yeah.
Because if you go upstate and you go to, well, Long Island's a little different, but if you go upstate and yeah, to Long Island too, the D2 schools up there,
Are like
like
they're really good.
yeah, then the only difference there is the size of the school, and that's why it is D1 and D2. For anybody that doesn't know, it's just the size of the
Hmm.
school. That's all it is. But in the city, there's a distinct like difference between the
Yeah.
D1 competition and D2 competition as far as the city tournament goes. But then when you go upstate, like the Division 2 state champ is probably very good. Like Kyle Dake, he was a Division 2 guy. He wasn't Division
Yeah.
One, and he's Kyle Dake. So you know, it's only the size of the school. But in the city, I think that if they got rid of the whole blended league thing, I think that D2 could be a little bit more competitive.
Hmm.
So now you're starting to compete a little bit more and all that. You probably don't want to go to Northeast Regionals. Probably you already went to states.
Yeah. This month, like the rest of the month of May, I'm gonna keep practicing. I'm always gonna be at practice. Like, I'm always gonna be wrestling at practice, but I'm not gonna compete because I'm leaving the month of May for like soccer because I have a big tournament coming up Memorial Day weekend. So I'm gonna leave the rest of the month of May to like keep training for that. But I'm always gonna be in the wrestling room like 5 days a week. Like, I'm gonna be there nonstop because I do want to keep getting better, but also I need to focus on what's right, like for me and my soccer career as well.
Right now, what made you want to be like a two-sport athlete?
So At Petrides, I don't know how it is other in other schools, but at Petrides we actually have a lot of three sport athletes. Because our high school only has 500 kids, we need like all hands on deck when it comes to sports. So what made me want to become a two sport athlete is I've been playing soccer since I was 4, and then I see my brother start wrestling, so I was like, "Ooh, let me try that," and then I fell in love with it.
So it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Ah, cool. Yeah, I'm glad that you fell in love with wrestling. Yeah, wrestling's definitely
hmm
a great thing. So now, can you compare like soccer workouts compared to like wrestling practice?
Oh, being in wrestling shape is nowhere. I mean, no, being in soccer shape is nowhere near being in wrestling shape because I was always in soccer shape when I like ever since I started playing. I've always been in soccer shape because it's just legs and it's like conditioning. And I personally me, I love conditioning. Like I love to run, I love to get out there. But like wrestling shape, you need like the muscles of like a power lifter on top of double the stamina a soccer player needs. It's and then also you always need to keep your head in it because you're nonstop wrestling. With soccer, yeah, you're always in the game, but you're not always touching the ball. So like if you needed to like stop for a second, you could you stay in your position and then you just take a deep breath and just relax. In wrestling, you can't do that. You always have to keep wrestling. So like even if you're in your head, you have to get out of it like that, or else you're gonna get put to your back and you're gonna get pinned.
Right, exactly, exactly. Now, speaking of that, are you like a fan of soccer and a fan of wrestling? Meaning, like, will you go on Flow and watch wrestling, and will you watch like I don't know what it would be called. I'll just say FIFA, but would you watch like soccer on TV?
Yeah, I would watch like soccer on TV, and I wouldn't really go on Flow to watch it. I would go on YouTube and just search, and I would just like search up like wrestling matches, and I would like watch how they move and just like watch the wrestling because like you never know, there could be a move in that match that I could really like fall in love with. Like there was this one like Instagram reel I watched, and it was this guy doing a Peterson roll, and I was like, oh, next practice I'm gonna try that, and I tried it at practice, and I kept working at it, kept working at it, kept working at it. I think I've completed a Peterson in almost every match I've wrestled.
Oh wow.
That went through to like the second period because I'm like a very I wouldn't say very good because I don't like to like think of myself as a higher person, but I feel like bottom is my strong point. So like when I'm if I get choice in the second period, I'm always going down because I know that my hips against their hips, like I feel like I'm gonna always come out on top, and it's shown in matches because I've always gotten reversal. I've always gotten reversals to back points with that Peterson, and also little secret kids in the city better watch out because I could roll the Peterson and then I can go like the other way too. So it's just like a little flip in my hips to where I can go both ways to keep kids guessing.
Yeah, and it's deadly.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely deadly. You get those back points. So
Yeah.
you're talking a lot about technique. That's like a simple technique, but you can make it like a higher level thing just because you're so good at it. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of the kids in the city don't really pay attention to the fact that the high level wrestlers that they're going against on Long Island or upstate or whatever, those that get to states, they're not doing anything fancy. They're not.
They're just doing simple moves. It's just they're doing simple moves and it's just chain wrestling. That's what
Right.
makes them look so good.
Yeah, exactly. It's nothing that we don't know how to do. It's just, yeah, they're just a little bit better at it because they're putting things together a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
So now, what do you think is gonna take for the city, just as a whole, D1, D2, whatever the case, to get a little bit? Yeah, we had state places this year. That's great, but we knew like those guys were gonna place that. Like Sean Tansey get to the finals.
I knew Tandy was gonna make it. I knew Bogey was gonna get up high. I
Yeah,
knew Amir from Madison. I knew he was gonna get up high.
and he
Like
all
I actually
American
had,
as well.
yeah, I actually had the luxury of wrestling Amir. I wrestled him in a preseason tournament, and I was like, like he pinned. It took him to this. We went to the second period when he pinned me, but like I was like, whoa, that kid is good, and I just kept like I kept watching his matches, and I was like, yeah, that kid's making states, that kid's placing high.
Yeah, and then he goes on in All Americans, like he made his name in the
Yeah.
country, like,
Mm-hmm.
and he just won freestyle states and Greco states. You
Yeah,
probably saw it.
yeah, I was there. I watched his finals match. It was a he he's just a mirror. There's like you could really say he's just a mirror.
See, yeah, see now there's pockets of guys in the city that get really good, and Madison. I know Steve for a long time. Like they got a great program over there, and so there's pockets of guys in the city like that from those programs. But what do you think is going to take for the entire city to understand technique the way you're talking, the way Amir does, obviously, the way like I know they graduated, but Bogey and Sean Tanti did. Just understanding technique, not just trying to beat the Long Island guys or beat the upstate. No, understand the technique so that you can get to where those guys are at.
I feel like what it takes is the city needs to come together more, and I feel like we need like upstate alum coming down to like not like yeah they could show us, but just talking like just like explaining to us how it works, and then work at it.
And we kind of have that with Beat the Streets. Like Penn is
Yeah,
from upstate, and when I was in high school, he was the head coach there. So, and he was a state champion and All American as well, and he wrestled D1. So we had Penn, and now we got the former West Point coach. I forget his name. He's the head
yeah,
coach.
Coach Joe.
Coach Joe, yeah. And Becca Leathers, obviously, she made a bunch of world
Yeah,
teams. So we got some people there with some high accolades that help us out, but I can understand how it's hard to get 50 kids to a high level. That's kind of hard.
yeah.
But I mean, even with that, there's still a struggle in the city. I think, is there any other way that everyone in the city could get better? Because it seems like you have the right idea, but it's just that, the entire city, like, how do we get everyone to do well?
Just I feel like yeah, we need to come together, but we need to come together in different locations. Like I feel like every a lot of practices are like they're far away from Staten Island. That's what I know. They're in like Kings Park or something. That's where the Beat the Streets practices are, and that's
Roosevelt
like
Island.
oh Roosevelt Island, my bad. And it's like a hike to get there. So I feel like if they're doing practices like here, if they're doing like Staten Island, Brooklyn, if they're doing it all over the five boroughs, they're getting more people involved.
So I don't know if you remember from your older brothers, but when I was in high school, we had it like that. And I would
Hmm.
go to Brooklyn and I'd even come to Staten Island. I've been in Petrides a
Yeah,
couple times, so which is kind of crazy because I live in the Bronx. But yeah, I would just go everywhere and practice and stuff, and we were able to do that then. I don't know what made it change, and it's not because of COVID, because afterwards, I mean, right before then is when it changed. So I don't know what made it change. We were using Columbia University for a while, and then COVID happened and all that, and then they were using Roosevelt Island. So I don't know what changed, but I guess the logistics behind that is out of our control. I mean, that's not anything we could really, do anything about. But just even with that, though, there's still like a struggle in the city. And I think it might be the mindset. Like they're not talking the way you're talking. Like the way you were talking about a Peterson, you don't hear a lot of kids in the city talking like that. And the ones
hmm.
that do understand technique real well, they're the ones that are able to do well. But there's a lot of people in the city, even the ones that they look real good, they might tech their way through cities, something like that. They might get a pin in the finals, but then when they get to states, it's like
Oh,
LOL, PSAL. So you know, there has to be a way to, I guess, well, something that coaches have been saying to me and like amongst each other and stuff is that if we compete outside the city more, that's what's going to get us better. So I want to ask, like, did the treaties get to go outside the city this season at all?
this year we actually did not go outside the city. I don't feel like no offense to my team. Like I love my teammates. I love how we work, but I feel like we just weren't ready this year. Like yeah, we blew by everybody in the PSAL Division and we won the championship, but as individual wrestlers, were we really ready? No. I feel like our best guys on our team, they wouldn't do well in the state. Like I'm saying like not even our best guys would do well like in this like upstate and everything. So I feel like hopefully this these next 2 years of my high school career we do go outside because I feel like all of our guys they understand they're starting like our new freshmen. They're understanding the Petrides culture and what it takes to be great at wrestling. And I feel like we all have that same mindset to where now we're all getting better. We're all improving it, and like everything is falling into place. So now our coach could take us up to the state, and we could verse that level wrestling.
Yeah, it sounds about right. I remember my school was at a tournament with Petrides and we were on Long Island, and some of your guys did pretty well back then. That was in 2017. But
Mm,
yeah, I think that's what it is. Like Grand Street would go upstate. I mean, well, to Long Island quite a bit. Tottenville would go to Long Island. They've
yeah,
been upstate as well. Yeah, so there's
travel's
teams that
also been to Jersey too.
yeah, yeah. So
They
there's
went to
well,
Pearl River.
everybody in Staten Island would go
Yeah,
to Jersey because you're right there. But
yeah.
yeah, and then like Eagle will go to Long Island. I went to Long Island a few times when I was in MLK. So, and with you guys that one time. So yeah, so there are teams that would go outside the city here and there, but I understand we're a part of NYC, right? We're not upstate,
Yeah.
we're not Long Island, so it wouldn't make sense to have 85% of our matches, up there because for logistic reasons we can't, I get that. But at least maybe instead of one time in the year, how about 3 or 4 times in the year we go to tournaments there? And we'll have we'll, do our dual meet schedule. I understand how logistics work behind that, but at least maybe a few times, 3 or 4 times a year, we duel against a Long Island team, or 2 or 3 or 4 times a year we go to a dual meet tournament against Long Island teams or
Hmm.
upstate teams or maybe even Jersey. I understand going too far is a little much, but Jersey, Long Island, upstate, I don't think it's too far.
Yeah.
So, and we've done it. So, I mean, if we do more of that, I think that could help. And if we bring more upstate guys down and Long Island guys down to compete with us, that could definitely help a lot as well. Because most of them have cars and things, a lot of us don't. So, them coming to us is easier than us going to them a lot of the time. So, if we do more of that, yeah, I think it can help us out a lot more. And then I know I graduated, but I'm still saying us because from New York City. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
still
it's like you're always gonna be like a New York City wrestler. I get
exactly.
what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah. That's never ever going to change. So yeah, I think that and more alumni coming down to help and like run clinics and
Mm-hmm.
things like that could also help out a lot. So yeah,
100%.
I think that's what it is. Like that experience you had at Freestyle States,
Yeah.
more of that will eventually get you better. So that's the first time you wrestled that kid, you wrestle somebody like that again, like 3 or 4 more times. Eventually you'll be having close matches with them, and eventually you'll be beating those guys.
Yeah.
So
I
now
just feel like
that's
it just takes more work, takes more hard work, and I feel like people like some kids in the city have that mentality. Like I know some kids in mentality have that like they have that mindset that where I feel like you're never enough. Like that's the way I work. No matter how good I'm gonna get, I always have that feeling that I'm like never good enough. So I feel like if more kids have that mindset, then they're gonna start working even harder and harder, and then that's when New York City wrestling takes that like it takes that leap. It just
that's right.
takes more kids.
That's right. I would love it for everybody that wins cities to go to states and place.
Yeah.
Usually the guys that place are the ones that, duh, of course, but
Hmm.
like that would be like 2 people out of all the guys, or 3 or 4 people out of all the guys that win cities. Like the year 2020, we had a bunch of state places. That's good. And I was going to college upstate at the time, and people were saying, "Oh, you only had that many placers because they added more spots on the podium." I mean, look, we still had a bunch of places. I don't think the amount of
Yeah.
spots on the podium really means all that much. But then COVID happened and stuff. But even still, like even now, we could still get more guys doing big things. And we had some good showings. We had a
Hmm.
couple of finalists. We usually don't get to have that, but
Yeah.
it'd be cool to consistently have these things happen.
hundred
So
percent.
yeah. So to end off, well, first, did you even wrestle any Greco, and what are you looking forward to later on?
So Greco that day I didn't do Greco. I had I left like personal reasons. I left Sunday morning. And I feel like my goal for the next 2 years is obviously I think we're gonna stay in the A division. So obviously like back to back is incoming, and then once we get that, a three-peat is incoming. That's where my mind is at. And then these next 2 years, I'm just full like individually win tournaments, have fun, have that Petrides culture, and get to 100 wins. I like to keep everything short and simple because then once everything is short and simple, it's all organized. And that's what I feel like. I just have to keep working. I have to keep my teammates in the room because hey, I need practice partners. So if I keep them in the room, then we're practicing with each other, and we're like iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
definitely. I wish like freestyle states would have been on Flow. I don't know why they didn't have it on there
Mm,
this year, but
I know.
that kind of sucked. Didn't get to see anything. But it's great that people had a good showing, and it's really good that you had that experience that you had wrestling that kid, because
Yeah.
wrestling guys like that, that's how you get better. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to whatever happens in the next season. You know what's going on next season. I'm here on the island, so I go to
Mhm.
college here, so I'll definitely see everybody and stuff. So yeah, it'll definitely be cool
Uh,
to pop out some dual meets and stuff.
yeah.
So anything you want to say to end it?
Uh, like thank you for the opportunity, and I mean like we'll like just keep for everybody in the city, just keep wrestling, just keep going because sooner or later it's gonna be the end of it, and like you never know when like there's gonna come an end. So, like just keep like don't take anything for granted. That's the way I look at every like life. Don't take anything for granted.
Right. Yeah, and that's a great way to end it. All right. So thanks
Mhm.
for coming on, Jayson.
All right, thank you,
Good luck later.
thank you, thank you.